Okay, got a new little video here that is not going to have anything to do with actually playing the practice chanter. This video is going to be for someone who is looking to hire a piper or pipers for some kind of an event, whether it is a wedding or a funeral or birthday party, whatever the event is, irrelevant. First thing, and the next video after this that I'll do will be once you've picked a piper, now what do you need to know in order to make things go off well. Anyway, first thing is you got to find one or more pipers to interview. So how do you go about finding and getting contact information for local pipers? If you are in a metropolitan area or anywhere near a large town, you can look for Scottish societies, Irish societies, Celtic societies. They're going to have contacts, and that can be anywhere. You can go to 100 to 200 miles away from you looking for those groups, because a good piper is going to be known by just about every one of these groups, you know, within 100 to 200 miles of where they are located. You can, in the Irish pubs, things of that nature. Funeral homes, you know, they often have people for the funerals, so they're going to know who's. They may not know who the best ones are, but they usually will have one or two contacts and have worked with them enough to know, are they painful sounding, are they good sounding, do they show up on time, are they professional, you know, how are they to work with. Wedding planners, same thing. Better wedding planners, bigger ones that have been around for a while, are usually going to have a contact or two. Here's an odd one you may not have thought of: Presbyterian churches. If a specific church doesn't have a contact for a piper, they know they can ask around and find out who does in the bigger towns. Presbyterian church is Scottish background. They often have kirking of the tartan ceremonies, so that's a good contact place. If you start hearing the same names from multiple places, that can be a good sign that this is somebody who's been around for a while, is good to work with, sounds good and stuff. Of course, it could also be, depending on what you're hearing about them, can also be stay away from this person. So ask them. If they're telling you who's good, say, well, do you know of anybody to stay away from? There's a website called Gigmasters. It may be able to tell you who's out there, but this is not, everything on there is going to be self-promotional. The individual has paid to be on there. I've done it myself. Doesn't tell you anything about it, whether they're any good or not. So bit of salt, you know, take that one with a bit of salt. There's a website called Bob Dunsire, BOBDUNSIRE.com. If nothing else, go out there. You can register a name and ask. You know, there's different forums for different things, snare drum, all this kind of stuff. The beer tent, the instructors, beginners, solo pipers, something like that. Just say, hey, I'm living here. I've got this event coming up on this date. I'm looking for a piper. Somebody, one or more, will get back with you. And you can pretty much trust what they say out there. Now that you've gotten a way to get some contacts, let's say you've gotten the name of anywhere from 3 to 5 pipers. Are you going to contact one and then that's going to be it? I would suggest not. Contact 3 or 4 of them. And it's an interview process. I mean, you normally would interview and get a feel for a doctor, for a lawyer, for anything like this. If you have contacts for 2 or 3, get in contact with all of them. One of them may be a jerk, you know, but you get a feel for how they work with you. Once you start talking to them, a few things to ask that will help as well, because you probably don't know much about piping. So here's a couple of things to ask that might give you an indication of whether they're going to be able to do the gig for you or not and do it well. How long have they been playing? If they've been playing less than 2 years, unless they're the only option and you're absolutely positively got to have a piper, I would pass. If it's an event of any importance, funeral, wedding, anything like that, welcoming, you know, maybe not so much on the welcoming troops home because there's a lot of noise anyway, but for these big life events, you're going to want somebody that's been playing 5 years or more. It's not going to guarantee they're a good piper, but if somebody's been playing 5 years, it's probably going to be better than somebody's been playing a year. Have they ever competed solo? Do they actively compete solo? An active soloist, I would say 90% to 99% of the time, is going to be one of your better pipers in the area, because they put the time into it, if they've actually won medals, if they've ever been upgraded. So if you ask them, do you compete? Do you currently compete? What grade are you? In solo piping, you start at grade 4. If they are at grade 3, 2, 1, 0, open, they're going to be a good piper. Because they're grade 4 is the grade you're in when there's nothing lower. And that's where I'm at right now, but I hope to be up to grade 3 this next year. So I've at least won enough and competed enough under pressure, played enough under pressure, to get upgraded. Let's see. Can you meet them to listen to them in person? If they're in the local area, they should be willing to meet you and play for you. Anybody can come up with a recording. I can sit here for 2 days and record and send you a 2-minute snippet of the best of my playing. The question is, can I show up on the day and within 5 to 10 minutes be playing and tuned to an acceptable level? Also, if they're not willing to meet you, then if you've got options, that just shows customer service, if at all possible. If they're very far away, you might end up having to pay them to do that. But I would encourage highly meeting in person. Along with that, customer orientation. Are they prima donna? Are they willing to, with enough time, or are they willing to learn a new tune for you? Are they honest with you? If you say you want Freebird, are they going to be honest enough to say Freebird doesn't work on the pipes? And have some other suggestions for you. Pricing, expect to pay in the $150 range, even if it's just for 1 or 2 tunes at a graveside service or just to lead you down the aisle. And there's a lot that goes into that and why it should be, and frankly it should be more than that. But a lot of pipers, it's not their full-time job, so they're willing to go for 150, whereas the ones that do it full-time, and this is how they pay the bills, are usually going to be in the 250 and higher range, not only because that is how they pay the bills, but they are also reporting it to the IRS, whereas some of the hobby pipers, they're still professionals, but that do it on the side, typically do it under the table. It's not uncommon. I'm not going to say typically. It's not uncommon for it to be under the table. Before you go to meet them, get on YouTube or buy some CDs, but get on YouTube and listen to a bunch of pipers. If you want to email me, I can give you a list of names specifically of who to look for. But if you go out on YouTube and listen to 10, 20 different pipers, you'll start getting an area or an idea of what sounds like you want to shoot the person to make them stop, and what sounds pleasing. There is a great range, and there are people paying gigs and taking money from people that are, frankly, have no business doing that. They sound horrible. It's an embarrassment, and that's not what you want at your event. So, listen around on YouTube or find some CDs or something like that of some solo pipers, not bands, solo pipers. That's what you're hiring. And to get an idea of what it should sound like, so you make sure you get somebody that's going to be pleasing, not an embarrassment to you, as well as to other pipers. Anyway, a few things. If you got any other questions, get a hold of me, and I'll be willing to give you my perspective on it. All the opinions that I am giving here are my own personal opinions, not of anybody else.